Okay. Okay, as you work on that, I'm just going to get started with introduction. The session is on Bloom, and yeah, Bloom is a tool that is designed to help low literacy language communities develop a library of books to encourage people to become literate. So Bloom is a tool for producing literacy materials. Okay, so we're mainly going to be talking this session about creating and translating shell books, and so that's what Bloom is designed for producing and translating shell books. But there are lots of tools that we could use for producing literacy materials. Any desktop publishing, Microsoft Publisher, Word can be used, and Draw in OpenOffice or LibreOffice. There are just lots and lots of tools that can be used for this. And so one of the things we ask is well, why Bloom? Well, Bloom is a tool that's designed for a very specific task and with an intended user in mind. And that intended user is someone with little computer experience, maybe not a lot of experience with desktop publishing or word processors, or very much experience at all. It's what's often referred to as rice farmer technology. And so as we get started looking at Bloom, we have to keep the intended user in mind, because along the way there may be some questions and maybe even some frustration about being able to control certain things. But if we keep in mind who it's intended for, I think we're going to really see the value of Bloom. Okay, Bloom designers aimed for simplicity and productivity over flexibility. The thing with that maybe a community like us, we're used to being able to control every little thing. You know, exactly where a picture is, exactly where the text is, just every little minute detail. Well, Bloom trades that flexibility for simplicity and productivity. And I think you're going to see that. And it's a tool that offers a lot of potential with a very minimal amount of training. Okay. Yeah, so Bloom empowers members of low literacy language communities to choose, to translate, and to publish books very simply and very efficiently. Okay, so what we're going to do is, like the last session, I'm going to do some demonstrations of what we can do with Bloom, and we're going to see what it looks like to translate a shell book that is already in Bloom format. We're going to see what it would look like to create a new book in the vernacular language rather than translating a shell book. We'll also see what it looks like to create a shell book in Bloom that currently exists in another format. Say I have a shell book in Word, or I have a shell book in Publisher, but it's not in Bloom. What would it look like to get that into a Bloom format? And then finally, just to demonstrate creating a new shell book in Bloom, and then we'll get a chance to play with it in a little bit. I think you'll really enjoy this tool. I enjoy this tool, and the members of our team really enjoy it as well. Okay, so let's get started in looking at Bloom. Okay, is anybody having particular troubles installing it? Again, this is just, I'm going to just do an overview. Okay. Yeah, the art of reading, you won't need it for a while, but when we come to that, you'll be glad you have that on there. Yeah. Again, I'm just going to walk through and do some demonstrating. Feel free to ask questions along the way. I've already collection. One of the things, the first thing we want to look at is how to create a collection. Okay, so in Bloom's, one of the terms we need to know is a collection. There are different reasons you want to create different collections. Maybe it's a particular language, maybe it's a particular type of shell book or type of book, and you want to make just a particular collection on that. Okay, up at the top here, we have create new collection. I already have a few collections in there. So when we click that, one of the first choices we have to make is whether we're creating a vernacular collection or a source collection. And this is a very important decision we need to make at the beginning. So a vernacular collection is saying, I want to make a collection of books for a specific language. For instance, our language project is Yetva. So maybe I want to a collection of books just for the Yetva language. I'm going to choose the vernacular collection there. However, if I am making a collection of shell books that I hope will be translated into other languages, I need to make a source collection. Now, say I want to make some books for the Yetva language, but I hope they will also be in other languages. That means I need to start, even though I have a goal of it being in the Yetva language or a particular language, I might think, well, I want this in the vernacular, right? And so I choose vernacular. But if there's any hope that you're going to use it for translating, be translated into other languages, you really need to do a source. Yes? I believe that you can. Well, no, I think once it's formatted as a vernacular, yeah, you can. Right. I'll show you that. I will show you that why you do want. But if there's any chance that you won't, while you're creating, translate it into other languages, you really want to start with the source collection. But for right now, we do want to start with the vernacular. So I'm going to click on Next. And here you just look for your language code. And then you can fill out this other information. I'm not going to do it for the example. Okay, so that's all we need for to get started. Okay, now in Bloom, we have 3 different main panes. Right now, we only have one tab up at the top, the Collections tab. Okay, and on the left side, the top, is where all the books that are in my Yetva book collection is. So right now it's empty. I have no books in that collection. Now in this bottom left pane are sources for new books. Okay. So for instance, there under templates, there's a basic book, picture dictionary, and a wall calendar. If I continue to look down here, I will see a sample shell book. Now I've got other stuff below that, and I'm going to get to that later. But for right now, just to see that here are some examples. So if I click on, say, this sample shell, over on the right pane, this book is going to be shown. And I can look through all the pages of this book. Okay. So now I want this particular shell book translated. I want to add this to my YETFA collection so that we can translate it. Okay. Right now it's just a source, but I want to add it to my vernacular. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to click on this choice right here. Now I want you also to notice what's going to happen at the tabs when we click here. Okay, so when I clicked on that, it automatically opened up a couple of other tabs and moved me to the edit tab. I'm going to go back and click on the collections tab where we just was. And now you'll see in my YETFA collection, there's now a book. We've added it from the source up into the vernacular collection. Okay. And now we want to click Edit. Okay, one of the things it did whenever it moved it from the source collection into the vernacular, it added boxes for the vernacular language. See here it says book in title in YETFA. Okay, notice it's got the original title, but it's made it smaller. Let me go back and show you what it looked like in the as a source. Okay, you see the title was in the first spot there as a source. However, once it moved it into the vernacular, it automatically produced text box for the vernacular language. Okay. Okay, so there's not a YETFA word for vaccination, so we just use Indonesian. Okay. Now, down at the bottom, a couple of things happened as well. It put the vernacular language, the name of the language there, and also you see the health. There are several categories for shell books. Now, if I put my mouse over this, it won't let me change the category. That was chosen by whoever created this shell book as a source. So that I can't change. Okay. Now over on the left side, now we have all the pages for this shell book. So we can go through here and begin to translate the parts that we need translated. Now, here on top, again, if I click up here, because this was an originally done as a source, you cannot change this part because this is not the original copy. Okay. However, there is a place down at the bottom, text box for ISBN, and also a place for acknowledging whoever did the translation or other acknowledgments that you need here on the credits page. Okay, so maybe translated by Chase. Okay. Continue on to the title page. Now, I put the title in on the cover, and it automatically put it on the title page as well. So I don't need to to reproduce that. And here again is another text box that gives us a place to put acknowledgments or whatever we need to put in there. Okay. Okay, now we'll look at actual what it looks like to translate. Okay, now as a source, the text was over here in underneath the picture, but when we put it in to be translated, the source language is now over here in a separate box. Notice up at the top it has English, but there's also the text is also available in Talk Pigeon. So if I click on the Talk Pigeon there, now the source text is Talk Pigeon. And a book can have, well, the documentation says dozens. I don't know the precise number of source texts that a particular shell book can have, but it can have dozens of source texts once it's done. And to choose, the translator only needs to click on one of the source texts. I'm going to go back to English. Okay, any questions up to there so far? Okay. I want you to see this what it looks like translated, but I don't want to take the time to type all of this out. So, okay, so your translator, once he opens up the book, only needs to click in the box and begin to type. Source text on the right, enter the vernacular language, and then continue this for all the pages. Okay, again, I am just grabbing text that I already had prepared out of this Word document, but if you were actually doing this, you would want to, your translator would actually just look at the text, source text, and then type it into here. Okay. Two more. Okay, so now we've worked through all the pages. On the back cover, there is a text box in case you need any other kind of information to put in there. And that's on the back as well, the back page. The outside back cover also has a text box in case you need it. Okay, so now we've taken this shell book that was in a source collection. We've added it into our vernacular collection, and we've translated it. Okay, now we just want to publish it. Okay, to publish, we just click on the tab up top, and it's automatically going to generate a PDF in a booklet form. And on the left side, it's actually going to create two. Well, one there is going to be for the inside pages, but also it'll create a second document for the cover page. So in case you want to get the cover printed on a different type of paper, a cardstock or whatever, we just need to click here, and it's going to generate a PDF specifically for the cover. Okay. From there, all we need to do is to click print or save to PDF or save PDF and take it to a printer. So notice what we did. All we did to create this book that was already in the as a source was we clicked on it. We said add it to our Vernacular collection. We've went and added the acknowledgments that we needed, and then just translated the text and click publish. And we have a PDF that's ready to be printed. Now, a couple of things here. We can go back to the edit and say we've already printed that, we've already saved that. Notice a couple of things here. Here is a choice. It's a choice made for A5 portrait. Say, okay, well we've printed on A5, but we want a different. Maybe we want the A4. We want a different size or whatever. We just choose it there, and Bloom automatically resizes everything, just like that. And now it's ready to print in a different size, different type of paper. We've not gone in and adjusted any picture sizes or moved text box around or anything to make it fit this size of paper. We've just clicked a button. Okay, and there are several choices there, land side by side, stuff like that. With just a click of the reformat. Okay, also right up. Notice that there's which. Okay, get to a. Okay. So here, the picture on top, on bottom. Well, let's say we've made a Yetfa version, but I also want a Digla. I want two languages in there. Okay. I can choose another language, and now I have two languages. And it's moved the Yetfa on top, and then underneath it inserts the English. Okay, the question is now we want, Talk Pigeon was as a source language as well, okay? So if I go up here and I click, here I only have the English choices. However, if I go to settings, click on settings, here we have the vernacular language, the language 2, which was already chosen as English. Language 3, there's nothing. So if I click on change there, and I want Talk Pigeon, okay, now it's added Talk Pigeon as language 3. And I want to restart. Right, right. The question was, if you have more than 2 source languages there, it really only gives you spaces for 3 potential languages. You can produce a triglot, but you're not going to have 10 choices there. Right. Yeah. Again, this is. Want to keep the intent in mind, right? That we want them to be able to make choices without being overwhelmed with many choices. So, okay, now I can choose to have a triglot. I can click on Talk Vision. Bloom reformatting all the size and everything for us. This time it's going to put the 3 languages down below. So here, Yetva, English, Talk Vision. And all I did, and again, I want to undo it, just click up here, and I want to take English out. So with very few clicks, right? Very few clicks, we're adding languages, reducing, reformatting the whole thing. And so we can very easily produce and print 3 different versions with one size, or change the size just with minimal amount of. To my knowledge, there's no limitation in the size about the number of pages. Perhaps there is one that I'm unaware of. I think it will handle whatever you really want to do with this type of program, right? Okay. Yes. So if you needed to be able to do multiple booklets, you would need to do multiple booklets. Correct. Yes. Agreed. This is based on centerfold. So, yeah, if you got too many pages out, run into limitations there. Okay. So, what we've demonstrated so far is that there is a shell book already in Bloom that I've added to my Vernacular collection, have translated it with several options for printing or publishing it. Okay, now what I want to do is, okay, we don't want to translate a shell book, we want to create a shell book. We want to create a book, not a shell book. We want to create a book in our language. Okay. So one thing we can do is we can choose the basic book template here. Say, okay, I want to use this and make a book. Okay, again, when I choose that, it automatically takes me to the edit, fills in the, gives me the Yetva text box. And this is the default that it's going to come up with. You're going to have a front cover, a credits page, a title page, and then the back cover. Okay. And so I just want to call this book Rocks. Or I guess Yetva. Go. And here, the book title in English, I call Rocks. Okay. Now here, there's just there's no picture. There's just a placeholder. So I want to add a picture. Shell book, the pictures were already available, but we're creating a new book. There are 2 options. One is down here on the bottom. Anything that's on the clipboard, I can just click here and it will paste. So if I've copied a picture from another source, I can click here and paste. Or this option takes us to the image toolbox. So I clicked here, and this is going to give us the image toolbox. And up top are several options for finding pictures to put in that place. Right now, we're going to use Art of Reading. If you have Art of Reading installed, I just want to type rock and click search. So it's going to look through Art of Reading and find all the pictures that have the label rock. So I can search through here until I find a rock picture that, and I clicked on that one. Now the really cool thing about using Art of Reading in here is that all the copyright and licensing information is already embedded into the picture, and so it's all right here, and in our Bloom folder that later we'll look at, the image that it's going to place in that folder will have all the licensing and copyright information already embedded in there. So if this gets taken anywhere else, all the information goes with it, which is really, really nice. Okay. So we've got a picture of a rock, and so we click OK. Okay, and normally you would go through now, work on your acknowledgments, your copyright, all of that. This box earlier with the shell book wasn't available to us because we were not creating an original book. We were translating another book, but now we could put all the acknowledgments and copyright information that we need in there. And again, on the title page, the contributors, and I don't know how to see that whole box, but anyway, yeah, text box to add all the information, all the X matter that we need. Okay, now I want to start adding pages to our new book. Over on the right side is a template page with several different layouts with text and pictures. There's just an image page. There's just a text page down at the bottom. Now this is where some of the limitations come into, is because your page layout is already decided for you. But if you are our YETFA team, you are thankful. You are very grateful that some of these decisions are already made for you, and you're not having to figure out how to put in a picture or where to put it and where to size it. You are very grateful that somebody's helped you out with that. Okay, and again here we have just the same options of adding a picture. And then below we have the text. So okay, I guess we'll go ahead and put a picture in just for fun. Okay. Okay. And here again, if I want to change the languages, I can click up here. Right now, it just provides a YETFA text box, but I can click on English, and it automatically inserts English text box. Okay. So again, we can add as many pages as we like, or as is reasonable for a centerfold book, and then simply click Publish, and we have a PDF. Now we look back at our collection. the shell book we translated, and a book that we created simply for our project. Okay. Any questions thus far? Yes. I can't speak to plans, but what I can speak to is anytime I've contacted the developers with any request, it has been promptly addressed. But maybe someone else. Or you can do that. Okay. Again, at this point, I just really want to stress the simplicity and use of this tool. There's really not very much that's potentially confusing to this. Yes. Is doing the okay. So the question is, we're currently working on a book with the publisher, and you want to know, can you import it and publish it? Okay. The general question, the answer, no. The better answer is yes, but you have to do some work. Right. Yeah, there's not a click import from publisher file into Bloom, but it can be done fairly simply. And once it's done, it's done. Once it's in there, it's available for which we really want to encourage. Right. Once we get it in as a source, and it's available to many people. Which, and yes. I believe so. I have no experience with non-Roman scripts, and so anybody that has experience with that working in Bloom can please feel free to answer. Okay. He's asking what operating system are you using? Okay. Yes. Yes, it can be done. It has to be done in the HTML, which again, the tool, the use of the tool is aimed for people who really wouldn't know or want to know how to do that. But anyone who's facilitating a project can. If you have that sophistication, it can be done. Font size. And other minor changes, yeah. Correct. Right. Yes, that's right. You choose not per book, you choose per collection, not necessarily a language, but say I have a particular well, no, that is going to be for a language, yeah. That's correct. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now what I want to do is Well, that is a good question. I'm not where this. Oh, the question is, we're using a specific type of font. I'm taking it that this here is looking in your folder, and suppose it is in that folder is available here as well. The question was, I'm sorry, that we are using a particular font. Can we use that in this book? I believe if any font that's available in your font folder is available. I will show you. Yeah. Okay. Now, so far we've been working in a vernacular collection. Now I want to show to create a source collection. Okay, so again, I'm going to click up here on collections, create. Now I'm going to choose a source collection. Okay. Okay, give it a name. Notice here we're not choosing a language, right? We're not choosing a language for this because this is not vernacular. This is we're creating a source collection. Okay. So again, my collection box is empty. And what I want to do now is I had a book in another format. I had, let's see. There was book in a Word format, and we say in our area, or this is a really book, but it's in Word format, and training people to translate it is difficult, or in Bloom. Okay, it took me about minutes to copy out pictures into a folder next. Which we then, okay, now say I want to make a book. And so what I can do is just relock that shell in Bloom. Okay, but now I'm not going to look in the Art of Reading. I'm going to click on File. Search where I've got those, or you can just copy them and paste them straight. Okay, however, I do this, all the metadata that I'm so happy was there in Art of Reading, not embedded in this. So you see over here it says, picture, this image does not know. Okay. We can click Set Up Data and enter the approximation, which for this particular book, it may be in the shell there. We're assuming that you know who this belongs to and the license that the copyright holder is given. There's also a custom copyright down here at the bottom. So we want to fill out the correct copyright and license information, and then once we do, when we click, now that image is now sent to a Bloom book folder with that information embedded in. Okay. And again, much like the Vernacular collection, I just threw images, adding a picture, and putting the text in. It was in a Word format. Just copy it, paste it. Of course, with the right permissions, obviously. I hope that is clear. All we're doing is changing the format. The beauty of it is that once it's done, and it can be shared with other Bloom users. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my collections. And now we have this book there. Okay. Now, if I look down at the sources for new shells, now I have a few different collections already on my computer, and you're going to see some of those. But if I look down at the sources for shells, there's 3 that come deep with Bloom. Now, earlier, right under that, there was a sample shell book. Do you remember the vaccinations that we translated? Does everybody remember? It's not available here. It's because it's not considered a source for making a new shell book, right? It was a source vernacular collection. It's not a source for collection, right? Now I do have a few that show up here. That's because they've been specifically overridden to be used. But generally speaking, if you we've created a source collection, and now we've created a source, we've created a shell book. If I make another source collection, this will not be available to use in a source collection. However, if I'm my Vernacular collection, okay, there's the two we created earlier. There's the sample one now again. And if I look all the way down at the bottom, there's the source collection I just created with the shell book. So now that source is now available to be translated into my vernacular collection. Along with, if we look, there's just so once a collection as a source, it's available to be translated into a vernacular. So all a language worker needs to do is click, translate, choose, translate, and publish. Yes. Because I begged John Hackett to share with me more examples. So these are loaned to me for this demonstration only. Oh, okay. The question was, all she can see is the basic book, no picture dictionary, and no wall calendar. Is that true for most people? Sorry. Okay. If we click on settings, and on advanced program settings, I have show experimental templates clicked. So if you choose that and restart, Yes. 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 Yeah. Yes. Go ahead. Yes. Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you can just right click on the picture, copy to clipboard in Publisher or Word or wherever, right click, copy, and then click back into Bloom and just click the bottom right hand of the placeholder and paste it right into that placeholder. Yeah, that's correct. One of the reasons I showed that is we actually have one person who's just trained just to go through the publisher files and just save all those things, and so they're just grinding that stuff out, and then later putting them as we find out who the picture belongs to, and then putting them in there. But yeah, that does save a step. Yes. Right. As you can see, there is a under settings. The question was about the workflow and the ability to collaborate on a or send and receive. That right now is in the experimental phase. My wife and I, we use it, the send and receive. It's appropriately labeled experimental. Yeah, it works most of the time. There's also the user localization controls is also experimental, which I've not experimented with yet. Okay. So one of the, just to make sure that we're clear on the difference between a vernacular and a source collection, right? Source collection is a collection of shell books that can be translated into many other languages. The vernacular collection has to do with one specific language. Okay, are you ready to experiment? I forgot my... Yeah. Oh, maybe the bag there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I have a practice. What this is going to do is going to take you through creating a new shell book in a source collection, and then at the end you will create a vernacular collection and see that shell book is available to be translated into your vernacular. Okay. This is also on electronic. It's in that file, the Bloom file that you copied from the presentation. In case, I think we're going to have enough to go around. So what I'd like you to do is just try this exercise, and then we'll take about 15 minutes, and then as we get finished with that, then we'll come back for some questions and just a little bit more other details. Okay, hopefully you have worked most of the way through that exercise. A couple of things I want to show, and then maybe there are some questions. First is the just want to mention about templates, page templates. So currently there are there are a handful of templates that can be used. One of the questions was, are they adjustable? Are they editable? Let me show where the is kept. In my document, there's a Bloom folder, and then in that each collection has a folder. And then in the collection, each book gets its own folder. Okay. From one vernacular to another vernacular. Is that what you're asking? I haven't done it, but I don't think so because the text box are created for that particular language. So if I'm in a vernacular, if I'm in the Yetfa and I create a book, it's going to give it a Yetfa text box, right? And the cover is going to have Yetfa on it. So I haven't tried it. If somebody's tried it, they can speak up. But because it creates it specifically for that language. Now, if you're talking about source collection to another source, I believe that is in the same. It isn't like your source. Okay, any open the rock has this base page. Let me see. Yeah. Base, and that's the style sheet document. So it is the information for the style sheet, which some of you get really happy. I see this and want to weep. That can be controlled in here. I think unless, know your limitations. I think unless you really know what you're doing, you should be like me and don't do it. This is it's also to mention this is a Cask style sheet, right? So if you change something at the collection level, it changes it impacts all the books. But you can change one thing in a book and it won't change all the others. So this is the style sheets for the section, right? So if I change something here, it's going to trickle down to all the individual books. But if I go into just the vaccination, say I want a different font or a different font size or something like that, and I go into the specific book and change it for that particular book, it won't affect the other books. Don't ask me any more about that. That's all I know. However, I will say, if your area, your region, your organization, whatever, you really feel like we really, really need a certain template. I know the Bloom team would be, if you're really, not just, we really want this, but, there's really something we could really use. If you speak to the Bloom team, the development team, I'm sure they'll be willing to work with you in developing a new template that can be used in books, so that it will be available on the right side of when you're creating the book. Any questions about that? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, I'll show you on the make a Bloom pack. Let me. Okay. Make a Bloom. This is one of the really exciting things about Bloom is that once a source collection is made, yeah, this make a Bloom pack. Actually, it's a zip file. It creates a zip file to be shared with other Bloom users that can be imported. Now, one thing to note is that now we're looking at the source collection that we made, correct? And the option for Bloom pack is there. Now, if I open up the Vernacular, collection, you'll notice make a Bloom pack is not there. Earlier, it was located right here. We had the option of taking a source collection, making a zip file to be shared with other users. My Vernacular collection is not given the option to be made into a Bloom pack. Okay. Okay. Right. Let's look at help. Let's see. No, we want to look under collections. Here at the bottom it says, "Are you looking for shell books to translate into your language?" And it gives a link for. I'm not on the internet here, so if I click on it, am I? Oh, great. I'm on the internet, so I'll click. Thank you. So you see it takes us to bloom.philosophy.org, Bloom packs. And this is envisioned as a future hub for once source collections are finished, to make a Bloom pack and a place to share them. Now, as it's pointed out, because it is a bit of a chicken and an egg situation where there's all this potential, but not very many source collections have been completed where they're ready to be shared. All the right copyright and licensing information is in there. So right now there aren't any Bloom packs here to share, but there are some that exist. And so I know in PNG, as was mentioned earlier, they're working really hard on getting some made. We're also in Papua. Matter of fact, when we get back from here, we have a production workshop planned for Bloom for interested parties to get together and begin to make migrate old shell books from publisher into Bloom. So anybody who's inspired can go back and begin working on making some things that can be shared, because it is really nice whenever you see when you look down at this source pane, this bottom left pane, and there's just tons of opportunities, right? Tons of books that all they need is just a little time to be translated. I mean, to see all those potential titles is really exciting. And I think that's, as trainers and facilitators here, that's part of our job, right? This tool is specifically made for mother tongue language, speakers, and part of our job is to help. I mean, the program itself is an incredible capacity building tool. I mean, you put the capacity in their hands to really translate and publish things in their own language, very simply, very efficiently. As trainers and facilitators, it's our role is to get a lot of that ready for them to work. Yes?
What about the interface being localized? Is there an option to do that now?
Why don't we look at that? Because honestly, I haven't tried it. So under settings here, under the settings, it has the advanced program settings and the experimental show user face localization controls. So here it is up here. It's currently in English. It's the localization tool. I mean, the beautiful thing about it is not just a whole lot to be related or localized, right? The interface is very simple, and so could probably be very simple easily. I don't know, but that would make sense. Why it's still in the experimental phase is, yes, there is an answer. Okay, so if you localize it on your machine, you're the only one who benefits from it. But if you localize it to developers, it can be included in future. Okay. Because I've got another meeting where a whole bunch of people ask me, what's Bloom? Where do I get it? And I was like, pointing them to the Awesome website. Because these are intelligent people who could easily have Googled and gotten to the same place. Right. And then I'm wondering like, well, wait a minute, maybe they don't really want all these people downloading Bloom at this point in time. Like maybe I'm disingenuous. So that's why I'm asking. Okay, I can't speak specifically for the Bloom development team. I do know that in December, that didn't crash in 90 days come out. So if that tells you anything about where it is, but yeah, as far as creating source collections and stuff like that, I think they're very happy for that to be done. That's part of the issue. Yes.
Yeah, I'd say if you consider yourself an early adopter and are willing to help contribute to the effort, like Ellie, then sure, by all means, download it, participate, create what you can, and let the developers know. If you feel more like a consumer and this product better be 100%, otherwise take you back to the manufacturer, you should just wait.
Thank you. I think that's... Okay. Are there any other questions about the tool? I will just put a last little plug in. I think here. This is, I think the only reason I was asked to do this is because of my excitement level of Bloom, is because this is my team, and these guys 2 years ago had never touched a computer, but these can easily handle the interface of being able to just select on a book and just translate it and then just click and save it to a flashlight and then have a book in their own language. I mean, that's what this is about. It's about creating materials for people to read, and then which leads to people's ability to not just read but read God's word. And it's an incredible tool. And the fact that these guys here can do it with such simplicity, that's what makes Bloom a great tool, and for which I am very thankful. Last chance. We're ending a little early, but that's okay too.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that everyone here should do a little PR for Bloom when you go back where you came from, because there is a obstacle to get over in the idea of most desktop publishing people, and that is the ability to have such control.
Yes.
And I think the tendency is for people to look at it, to try it, and say, oh, it's too limiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I wrote to John Patton about this, and he responded with a long letter explaining that it's really not about template creation. Creating templates, yes, it's a big, involved process, but that's not the first priority. The first priority is to just gain a following of users who are willing to make simple books, and to view that as the default procedure, to let go of some of the control, and to gain instead a wider range of users that can just pick up and start working with it without extra templates for the time being.
Right, and I think the value of a mother tongue user being able to hold a book and say, I translated this. I took this from this stage to the ending. When we hold something, we want it perfect. And it's got to be just all laid out just right. But the value of them holding and knowing what they have accomplished, learned, and accomplished for their own language group far outweighs